We are here with Dan O'Day from Gilead. Thank you so much for joining us, Dan. Appreciate you being here bright and early today.
Thanks for having me, Angelica. Good to be on the show.
So I want to start off with HIV because you have a pretty big launch that you're expecting this year. You're expecting to launch a shot that's given just twice a year, and it prevented nearly all cases of HIV in your late-stage trials. So what can you tell us about that launch, how you're preparing for it, and what you see as the timeline for people switching over from daily pills to the shot?
Yeah, Angelica, Gilead Sciences is going into 2025 in a very strong position. As you mentioned, one of the most important things on the horizon for Gilead and, frankly, for public health is this new HIV prevention medicine called lenacapavir. Incredibly, in the first large trial, it showed that it was 100% effective at preventing HIV in participants in the trial with only 2 shots a year, 2 simple shots a year. So it's hard to overstate the impact that this is going to have on global public health. It's going to change the face of HIV. And we're incredibly ready. We've filed with the FDA. We expect approval as early as the summer. And we've got programs in both the developed world and the developing world to get this medicine to the people that can benefit from it.
You mentioned the impact that it could have on global health and, what you've done. You've announced this plan to make it available in some low and middle income countries through generics authorizations. But when I talk to some critics, they say that it's not enough and that they want to see more from you. So how did you come up with that plan? And do you feel like it is enough to address the need that's out there?
Look, just as this is a groundbreaking medicine, we're also approaching our access programs in an unprecedented way. Immediately after we saw these results with the community and public health officials, we moved to technology transfer this medicine to about 6 generic manufacturers that are going to supply on a royalty-free basis to 120 low and middle income countries. And in addition to that, because we know it'll take a little while for those generic manufacturers to get up to scale, we made a commitment working with 2 large global health organizations, PEPFAR and the Global Fund, to supply lenacapavir at no profit to us to more than 2 million people over the first 3 years. There is much more we can do, but what we're doing right now is absolutely unprecedented. And look, if we want to end this epidemic, which is our goal and the goal of public health officials, everyone has to be able to have access to this.
Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about U.S. politics for a second here, because you are the chair of the board of pharma, at least for now, and so you have a pretty close pulse on this. What's your view of this incoming administration, particularly RFK? He's seen as a little bit of a wild card, but how do you see it?
Look, healthcare is not partisan. It is bipartisan. And, what really is important in this country, because this is the country that has the most medicines, faster access than any other country in the world, is to make sure that innovation continues here. And also that people can afford their medicines. They can pay less out of pocket. What the new administration is talking about is a focus on prevention and a focus on chronic diseases. For Gilead Sciences, what that means is that medicines like lenacapavir that we spoke about that could be really the best tool yet we have to end the epidemic, or some other medicines we have, like our cell therapy, that is a one-time treatment that cures certain forms of blood cancer. That is in line with what the administration is talking about. So we really look forward to working with this administration and the new Congress to make sure that these types of legislation and policies can be supported for the American people.
And we have a question back at the exchange.
Hey, Dan, it's Becky Quick. It's good to see you. Let's talk a little bit about where the funding comes for your HIV medication. I know you're going to be giving a lot of this away and getting it out there. Traditionally, though, it's been either governments that are paying for some of this medication or private philanthropic groups that have raised the funding for this. Where do you anticipate the funding coming this time? Because there have been questions raised about whether U.S. foreign aid will be cut in the incoming administration.
Becky, it's a great question. Good to see you again. And look, for a medicine like this is a once-in-a-decade medicine. It was the medicine that received the Science magazine Medicine of the Ward last year, just to put that into context for what it could do to public health. We believe that the funding mechanisms, to your point, both privately and publicly, are there to support this. In fact, we've already been working with PEPFAR and the Global Fund to make this arrangement to make sure that 2 million people can receive this in the first 3 years. And governments that we've been speaking to are are paying attention to this, because if you can end the epidemic in your particular country or in countries around the world, the impact on, first of all, people in those countries, but also the impact on healthcare costs for people that may have contracted HIV that will no longer contract HIV. This is a powerful both, public health message as well as an economic message for countries.